Hello, my beautiful, beautiful friends and my fellow space blobs. I am feeling so cozy and reflective and sensitive and really connected. And I felt very inspired to just sit down with you all and explore the intuitive themes that I'm picking up on for this August and just explore some themes that I think have been coming up in really profound ways in my own process because it has been quite the year so far. Like, it has been a year of so much change and growth and self realization and really finding my inner light again and like the way that I move through the world, not just the way I think I'm supposed to move through the world. And I feel like that's been a really, really powerful journey. I've also just been kind of feeling through collectively and with my friends and with a lot of things people have been saying to me, and just noticing how this August there's so much to do with this kind of feeling of being at crossroads and thinking about life and like, okay, what do I really care about? What do I want that to look like? What are the things that I'm valuing so deeply now? And how does that affect the way I'm making choices about where I'm going to be next and what I'm going to do with my day-to-day life? All of those big kind of questions. And a lot of us, I think, are sitting with some really big unknowns as well, as always. But sometimes there's that feeling like we know that something is going to break open in a new way. We just don't know how or when or exactly what that's going to entail. We just can tell that we are at some kind of life crossroads where we've grown and we've changed and something else is about to burst into the scene. And I think that tender, beautiful place is so important. And that's why I got really excited to explore this August with you all. The other thing that I was thinking about with this particular August, the Leo Virgo archetypes that we think of in August, because the sun moves through Leo and then into Virgo by the end of the month, these two together work so beautifully. They have so much to do with how we calibrate and come back to our signature frequency. Leo is all about the heart energy, right? And like reconnecting with what it means to move through our lives through our magnetic field here in our heart, like our true own energy signature. And Virgo has so much to do with our inner wisdom in not putting ourselves into little boxes and cutting ourselves up into a whole bunch of different parts, but working as a cohesive whole and feeling that we're bringing all the parts of ourselves with us, all of the wisdom that comes from those parts of ourselves. And I think the combination of them together reminds me of taking care of our inner lantern, taking care of our inner fire and guide that shows us through the world. And so this is such a beautiful season. And of course, it's also Venus retrograde, and I love that season. Anybody who's been with me even for the last couple of weeks, you know that I love this transit. I love the symbolism of going into the hidden and the unseen, which is Venus's journey. She goes into the hidden and re-emerging with greater clarity, greater understanding of who we are, what we really value, and what we want to take with us from that place of an internal lantern being lit. And this time around, the Venus retrograde is in Leo, so it's really about reconnecting to heart. And if you are interested, I would highly recommend checking out the Alchemy of Venus retrograde I have on my Patreon. We're having such a beautiful time moving through this whole process, and you can come and join at any time and catch up and review and enjoy all the materials we've already worked through if you haven't joined yet. I'd love to see you there. But let's get into some of the themes that I think are just so potent and rich this time of year. So one, I think that August is a time of very communicative energy. The world kind of sings this time of year. And this particular August, there's going to be a real connectiveness where there is just a sense that the world is speaking to you and the spirit of the world is speaking to you and all the components are speaking to you and you're in a deep conversation. So let yourself enjoy that and notice that. I know in my case, like I will go through seasons where I just feel like I'm not allowed to really notice how much of a conversation is going on with all the elements in my day as I'm walking through, and letting myself just remember that magic, that luminous, numinous feeling of walking through the world, where there's just so many interconnected threads that we're moving with at all times. This is a beautiful month for that. And the more you're willing to listen to that, the more likely it is that you are going to feel and notice where those crossroads are leading you. Now, that brings me into this theme of crossroads, right? This is a month of deep crossroads and thinking about, okay, what do I want to carry with me? What do I want to keep expanding? What do I want to keep building on? And what can I no longer build on? What just has to change? Like, what just has to change form, and I can feel it. This is a beautiful time to just acknowledge both of those things, both the things that we want to keep building, they feel so good, we can see it moving forward, and the things that we can just tell we can no longer sustain. This is a really beautiful month of standing in those crossroads and building up our ability to be okay to stand in those crossroads and work with the imagery of the crossroads as a place of meditation and deep connection and feeling safety there. Now, this also brings me into a couple of themes that have to do with release. I think that August is this really interesting point of great abundance, right? Like the alive natural world has just created all of this beauty, like plants and leaves and petals and colors and textures and bright sunlight. And it's all evident in the physical world. But this is also a season of really deepening spirit that just comes in, and that voice gets really, really loud at this time as well. And that deeper mystery starting to speak. So it's really a time of deep renewal and introspection as well. And one of the themes that's been coming up a lot for me recently has been this whole idea of letting go of trying to fix the past. I mean, the past lives on in the present, right? In the way we remember, in the way we tell story, in the way we feel things in our body, the way we store emotion and memory in our body. That's all real, right? And important, and continues to be something we will explore. But there's an element of trying to fix the past, going over and over the past, trying to think about how you could have done everything better, that has its limitations, right? And this is a really beautiful season for letting go of trying to control yourself in the now by trying to fix the past by going over it. This is a beautiful time to accept that whatever the process was, whatever it was that you were moving through, that's what the process was. Like maybe you do wish that it would have been different, or you could have known what you know now so that you could apply it to it then. All of those things, believe me, I know all about that. But this is a really beautiful time to feel the relief and the breath and the spaciousness that comes when we no longer are trying to fix the past by thinking about it over and over and over again, and really like giving ourselves scores and grades for how well we did in the past. Whatever process was there, was there. And when we release that scorekeeping on ourselves and the past versions of ourselves, not only do we give ourselves freedom and space to be who we are in this moment now, but we actually also, I really believe, give healing and peace to those past versions of ourselves. And we give those past versions of ourselves the grace and the honor of being where they were and moving through things in the way that they needed to move through things in order to learn, or just in order to take care of themselves, in order to move through with these tools and the knowledge that they had at that time. There's something really, really healing on kind of like a multiple time scale level that happens when we stop trying to take apart everything that we've done in the past forever and ever, and just allowing ourselves to be how we are now and accept that our process was our process. Like for me, I've been thinking a lot about the last 18 months as we close out an 18-month cycle with Venus and begin a new one at this time, and everything that I've been learning. And in that time, I've been living here in Sweden, and I had this ideal version of myself that I was always trying to pursue. And I realized I've been thinking back over the last 18 months, trying to think about how I could have done it better a lot. And I finally just got to a place where I had to really find my deep acceptance of that. That was my process. I went through the process in my way with my kind of key energy signature and the things that I was learning, and that was valid. And there's been something so affirming and peaceful in just giving myself that. So this is a really great time to kind of make peace with all the versions of yourself from the past and release some of that scorekeeping on your life, and whether or not that makes you valuable enough to keep going in this life now. Like, all that scorekeeping, we can just practice and notice releasing as we move through the month of August. It's really beautiful, and there is really a sense of clearing heavy energy and giving ourselves that breath. And that ties into the next theme, which is also releasing images of who we think we need to be, who we think we need to become, who we think we should have been in the past, who we think we should have already been at this point in our lives. This is a beautiful season as well to discard a lot of those visions, right? Like, I think it's beautiful to be visionary with ourselves and to dream of the things that we'd love to express and the ways we'd love to move through the world. But it's always important that we're bringing our real, true selves to that table, right? I have found myself throughout my life at different times coming up with dreams and goals that I was like, yes, I really want this. This is what I really want, but I didn't really want it. And it felt really untrue to me. And it felt like I was trying to leave like a huge chunk of my signature energy behind in order to pursue those other goals. This is a really beautiful month to think about. Do I feel like I have to leave behind parts of myself in order to fit into this mold of a vision that I think I need to be? And if I do feel like I have to leave behind this part of myself that maybe I think of as boring or mundane or awkward or confusing or not inspiring enough, then I need to maybe look at that goal and that vision that I think I need to be and explore what it is that I think becoming that vision of myself is going to provide me. What it's going to provide me to leave behind the parts of myself that are really the most valuable, which is those parts that we often think of as mundane or uninteresting or not powerful, because we're so used to our own key energy signature. We're so used to all the little ways that we move through the world that we take them for granted. We forget that that's the magic stuff right there, that we don't need to leave it to go be some other vision of ourselves, that it's already there. So this is a really beautiful homecoming as well. So by releasing those visions of things that just feel like leaving behind big parts of yourself, we're creating a space to come back to our calibration field right here. The final thing I wanted to say about this August has a lot to do with creativity, because Leo is, after all, the sign of creativity, creating from the heart, playfulness, childlike joy. This is going to be a beautiful month for thinking about how to do things differently. Creative thinking when it comes to the things that you do value. So thinking about that crossroads energy, that releasing visions of who we think we need to be. But then coming back into the things that we do really value, we do really want to bring to life. This is a really great time to just really think in new, inventive ways. Like, you may not be able to do it the traditional way or the way that everybody told you should do it in life, but this is such a beautiful season to think about ways you could do it on your terms. And this is so powerful. And it's something that I've been thinking about a lot in my own life. I've been having a lot of exhaustion and fatigue because I live in a big city and it doesn't physically work very well for me. And it's something I've really learned about myself over the last few years of living in big cities and being somebody who lived a lot of my life in very quiet places, like by the forest in the quiet. And I've been really thinking about ways that I can help myself live a life that's physically better for me while also still being somebody who's a part of the world. And it's really an interesting process to start to think in my own ways and to really reclaim my power to kind of think about how I want to move through life. So this is a beautiful creative thinking season, and that's really what I have. I'll come back to it again, but the two images that come to mind over and over again this August are the lantern and the crossroads. And there are some really beautiful myths and imagery and energies that you can look up about these symbols. And I think it's fun for each of us to maybe do that exploration on our own. But the lantern and the crossroads are beautiful symbols of exploring who we're becoming, release and opening, and being in this space of there's so many different ways we can move in the world. There's not just one single right way to move, but as long as we are tied into our heart energy, into our spirit, and letting ourselves calibrate and really come home to it, we'll be able to find our way. And I love the beauty of that. So that's what I've been having on my mind as we enter into this August and as we enter this really beautiful month. And I hope you all are doing so well. If you have not checked out my Patreon, I highly recommend coming over, joining me for a little bit. It's a really cozy space, and I really pride myself on creating materials that give people a sense of safety and vision and the ability to connect with their own intuition. And we're doing the Alchemy of Venus retrograde right now, which is so amazing. And you can also find me on my website or on Instagram. And every time you like and you subscribe and you leave a comment here, you allow my work to keep being in the world. So thank you all so much for those of you who have been on the journey with me this far. Check out the Aquarius full moon video that's out now. And then of course we will meet back here for the Leo new moon, Virgo season, and a lot of other exciting movements ahead. So I will talk to you all very, very soon.